Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us wherever you are and on whatever platform you're listening on. I can't tell you how great it's been to see such continued support as we continue to grow our community and grow this podcast. So I just want to thank all of you listening. Just want to thank you again for all of that support. So today's topic is one that personally excites me. It's one that's very interesting to me. It's the reason I got into coaching as well as teaching. It's to make a difference in young people's lives. And today's topic specifically focuses on giving our players the best high school experience possible. So we're going to share some stories today. We're going to talk about what it means to be a coach who wants to help players get the most out of their high school experience and what it means to keep that in the forefront of your mind. So Coach Bryan Jerkins is my guest this episode to help discuss this topic. Coach, how are you today?
Doing awesome. How about you?
I am doing great. I'm doing really well. And again, really looking forward to kind of diving into this because, again, it's one that means so much to me about making sure that our players have the best possible experience they can have in high school. So let's kind of jump right into it, Coach. Let's go into an introduction of you, your journey. Where's basketball? Where's the game taking you? Where's coaching taking you? What's that journey been like for you?
Oh man, just starting from the beginning, man. I grew up in a little town called Loxley, Alabama, and went to Robertson High School, graduated in 2004. I was able to play basketball, and I wound up going to Troy University, and wound up majoring in sports and fitness management. So at the time I was, trying to get a job where, I can probably work with colleges or somewhere in the pros. And it wasn't even about coaching. There's so many different jobs you can get in that field. You can be a sports agent, a coach, work in the front office with an organization, whatever sports organization has, you can work for. And so after I graduated, and a lot of us have gone through this, it's not guaranteed you're going to have a job after you graduate college.
Right.
And especially in your field, you got to know the right people. And that's a big thing about, you got to have a good network of people. And so I wound up coming back home for a few years and just working, part-time jobs, full-time jobs that wasn't associated with my major. And at the time I was helping at my old high school at Robertsdale. And I wound up getting my substitute teaching license. So, I would do that to try to make some money along with coaching. And after a while, I was like, well, let me try to get my certification in education. So I was able to go an alternative route through the University of West Florida to have a teacher ready program that I was able to complete. And I got that done in 2015. And that allowed me to get certified in special education, which, that's what I'm doing now. I work as a special education teacher here in the county. This is my 6th year. I was an assistant coach at my alma mater for like 4 or 5 years before I got certified completely. And I got a job in Montgomery, but I didn't coach that year. And I wound up having an opportunity to kind of get back close to home. So in 2016, I was able to go work at Baldwin County High School in Birmingham, Alabama. 6A program, good basketball tradition, a lot of athletes, and, I was there for 4 years. And during my 4 years there, I was the head JV girls coach and assistant varsity girls coach during that time. And, this past summer, I actually got a head coach job at my alma mater. But, I had some issues, a lot of concerns and health concerns. So I decided to take a step back this year. So, that sounds crazy. Everybody has a crazy story. So that's mine. I wasn't even there 3 weeks probably, and took a step back and, it's kind of embarrassing, and it just, I kind of was worried about how it would be looked at, but I was just trying to make the best decision for me and my family, my circle, for right, at the time being. So
well, yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, though. Continue.
Yeah. Yeah. So, sometimes, and I know I'm not the only person probably done that, but, it just, especially when it's your first varsity job. So, but, I'm not worried about anything. I'm just going to, right now I'm working at the virtual school, and, I'm still going to be, keeping up to date on my coaching materials and attending clinics, that kind of thing, and just stay ready.
Right. Yeah, and I think that you just want to make sure that when you make that decision and you make that commitment to whatever that varsity job is, that you're in the right place for it, and that you're going to be in the best position to, serve the players that you want to serve and give them the best experience possible, kind of tying back into the theme for today's episode. So I think when that opportunity does come, then you'll be assured of it, and you'll know that it's the right move for you to make, and you'll be all in for it. But like you said, until now, or until then, though, you're still learning, you're still growing, you're still keeping up to date, like you said, so you're still staying active.
Yes, sir. Yes, exactly right.
So I want to touch on something that you did talk about with your journey, and that the teaching kind of came along the way with your coaching journey. So I want to kind of talk about what that was like for you as you kind of integrated being a teacher along with being a coach. So how did becoming a teacher and working in the teaching profession, how did that affect or change the way that you coached, or how did it change your outlook on coaching?
It changed a lot. A lot of people think coaching is just, telling players what to do. Actually, it's very similar. Coaching is teaching.
Mm-hmm.
The best coaches are the best teachers. So that gym or field, wherever you coaching that's your classroom. And it just, you teaching not only about sports, but you teaching about life.
Yeah.
Every day, on and off the court. And that's what I realized, man. It's not, everybody can't do this. Everybody can't do this. So it's different. It's gonna be a lot of headaches, but the best thing I know from just coaching the short time I have been is just, since you work with somebody for 4 years. Like I was fortunate enough to stay at my last school 4 years as a JV coach, and I can see the growth of the players from their freshman to the senior year, like not just on the court, but off the court.
Yeah.
And how successful they are now and will be. And that's not even the players I work with, just students and John I work with. I try to help out everybody that I could.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so there's a lot of life lessons.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many life lessons. And I think that especially with certain, I think with teaching just in general, one of the things you get that really translates into coaching, and I can let you speak on that, is just patience. I think you just have to have so much patience in order to be an effective teacher, and that it's something that you learn that sort of almost translates into coaching, is just being patient and working with players where they're at, kind of like working with students where they're at. Is that something that you found that you've had to become, is just kind of more patient with teaching and coaching?
Yes, you're right, man. Patience is key, man. I don't care what area you teaching in, especially I work in special education, so you definitely gotta have some patience. But you gotta have patience. Everybody don't learn on the same time scale. Mm-hmm. Everybody learn differently. Everybody learn at a different pace.
Yep.
So it's the same in the classroom. Like sometimes teachers have to slow down to really explain the concept for everybody to grasp it, or certain students to grasp it, and it's no different on the court.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you kind of got to slow down a little bit and just reiterate some things, some concepts for them to get it better by showing them visually and and letting them practice. I'm all about the whole part, show them the whole part of a situation or a concept, and then break it up and then go back to the whole the whole process.
Well, I think that is just so true with both teaching and with coaching, and it all sort of like ties into knowing your players and knowing what works for them, or knowing what clicks with them and the way that they need things explained to them, and the way that they need things shown to them, and that you can't just, teach something one way and assume that that works for every single player. You have to understand, okay, like I have a good relationship with this player. I know that this player needs this. I know that this player needs this. And I think teaching just does such a great job kind of letting you know that, because, your students are kind of the same way. And so just those good practices, I feel like they just sort of carry over. So it sounds like it's something that you've gotten a lot out of by being a teacher. It's probably helped you with your coaching as well. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
So
it has.
Yeah.
It has.
So our topic is about giving players the best high school experience that they possibly can. And so I want to kind of start with what made you personally so passionate about that. Why is that something that you feel very strong about, that you want to make sure that your players have the best high school experience that they possibly can have?
Well, you only get the high school experience once in your life, and that's some of the most critical years in development, and and developing memories. I would want them to have the best high school experience as possible. Whether it's that playing basketball, whatever sport they playing, joining different clubs. Every high school got their own outside, extracurricular activities, providing them all the resources for them to be successful. It's just so many different things. And what I've tried to done in my past is every kid I come in contact with, I'm trying to get to know them personally. You got to get to know your kids. Right. You'll find out so much information, what they want to be, where they trying to go, that type of thing. And then by that, I'm gonna do everything I can to try to help that kid. They reach out to me. It just, especially with 2020, man, it's been so much going on that you don't know where the kids are coming from, like the backgrounds, the housing situations, the parent situations. So when they come to school, I'm trying to, make it fun for them to come to school. There's a time to say, hey, we need to do this. We need to be serious about a situation. And there's a time to discipline kids for certain actions. But I feel like, we need to, try to make the kids feel welcome and make their experience a great one in the way that we can. Let them enjoy in the school and class.
100%. And I really like the way about making it, as fun and enjoyable to where they want to go to school. I completely agree with that. And I want to ask, because I'm not too certain about the area that you're in and the school environment that you're in. Do you work with a student population that some might consider to be like at risk? Is high school a really critical, important time for the players that you're working with, where, who knows what direction they're going in life? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Oh yes. So, and a lot of coaches can talk about this, especially in different areas. You got certain kids that comes from nothing, that don't have a lot of resources, that don't have a lot of support. A lot of kids don't never have a way to practice or a way home. So we pretty much like another father figure to these kids. From a male standpoint, you have to treat these kids when they come on campus. We have to treat them like their own, like they are our own child. We have to make sure they're safe, and make sure that if something going on at home, that we can, do anything to help that situation get better. Or if there is something going on at home, we can talk to a social worker, that type of deal, if it's that serious. And, providing the right support and resources. And, sometimes a lot of kids come up to the school, man, that's their stress reliever, man. Like I've seen kids walk in the school and they live like 10 miles away from the school. Like they'll walk to school just to get away and stay there all day, especially playing sports. You know, they ain't no hurry to go home. They don't want to, you know, they really don't want to go back.
Right.
You know, coming on campus gives them a peace of mind. They get there with their friends, they teammates, and they having fun. And at least for the time being, you know, they can forget what's going on in their personal life if it's, you know, if there's something wrong going on.
Right. Right. And so I think that that's really a common trend for a lot of athletes, and especially young ones. And I think a lot of coaches should kind of think about that, or maybe talk to their players to figure out, like, if sports is the thing that they do to kind of escape from their home environment, or if it's something that they do to kind of get away from, you know, the things that are going on at home or in their neighborhood, and that, you know, that sport is just like that safe area or that safe place for them to be at, where they can not think about the other things that are going on in their life. And so then it sounds like to me, in your area, that it's really important that those players have a really successful and a really positive high school experience, because if they don't, then who knows, like, what path they're going to see for themselves after high school. I don't know if I'm necessarily wording that right, but it seems like it's really critical that they kind of enjoy school, they enjoy that experience, because it might put them on a different path than they otherwise might be on.
Yeah. And, you know, every area is different. You know, I live in a nice area. It's not too much. It's not too many bad things going on, but, you know, every situation is different. Every kid household, every kid background is different. You know, who can you say? A kid might be playing sports just to stay off the street. You know, playing sports may keep them out of jail. I mean, that's the case in a lot of areas, man, nationwide. So you have to take that into consideration, and you know, I always try to beat up on my kids, players. If you need me, I'm always here for you. And there's been times where I had to pick up kids, take them to practice, take them home. There's been times where I had to take them after practice just to get something to eat, because I'm not. You don't know if they're getting fed at home for real.
Yeah.
You know. So I don't mind doing it.
So I know that some coaches who are listening or may hear that, and they might be like, oh, well, like, Coach, I think that's great, but how do you make time for that? How do you make time to be able to, like, make yourself available and make yourself present so that you can do these things for kids and connect with them in that way, and make sure that their needs are being met? So how was that like for you to make sure that you had the time to do those things? Is it a priority thing? Is it like did you just schedule time so that you're available to make sure that players can access you if they need that? Like, what is the scheduling process for that like?
Well, you know, even that, I mean, right now I'm at the virtual school, but even at the regular school, I will always have an open door policy, you know, as much as possible. You know, it comes back to a chemistry thing. I always say this: good teams, good coaches have good chemistry on and off the court. So the good coaches, they're gonna know what their players are going through, how they feeling, that kind of thing. You know, so I felt like it's important for me to get to know my players as much as possible. You know about them more off the court. You know, try to figure out a lot of information I can about them off the court, what they like, what they don't like, and I mean, you'll be surprised at the difference. Like it'll carry over onto the court or on the field, and they'll play hard for you, man. I mean, they'll work hard for you. You know, I got a tough love type of relationship I would have with my players. I'll be tough on them, but also love on them. You know, I just tell them, like, look, you know, I'm being tough on you because I want you to be successful. And you know, if there's anything outside of the school or basketball you need to discuss, or you want to discuss with somebody else, just let me know. And I get to where where they will feel so comfortable around me, they can talk to me about anything. And that is a good player teacher or student teacher player coach relationship. And you'll be surprised, man, how that translates to the court.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like for a coach to, you know, they want to give that high school experience and make sure that it's the best possible experience for the player. But then it also sounds like for that to happen, that coach has to make those strong connections with their players, and for those connections to be made, a coach also needs to kind of be prepared to deal with some tough things, or some tough conversations, or some real maybe interpersonal things that the kids are going to share with you, that as a coach you almost have to be like really prepared for, and you have to make sure that you're kind of emotionally and like mentally ready to handle all that. So can you touch on that really quickly, how you are able to sort of emotionally and mentally maybe handle some of the things that your kids share with you that in some cases could be pretty tough?
Yeah, it can be tough. And I think that comes from just experience, you know, because every day it's gonna be something new every day. Every year you coach, it's gonna be something new. It's you just have to have you have to care about these kids. You have to care about them, and if they come to me about a certain situation, I can't give them an answer. I'm gonna find somebody that they can talk to, they feel comfortable talking to, such as a counselor or whoever, and try to get them some help or support, whatever we need to do. I know that as coaches, a lot of coaches feel like they don't need to be getting too deep with the player, like for us, like knowing everything about them, but I try to build a relationship with their parents as well. Like, you got to have a good relationship with their parents as well if you can. Cause that would cut down on a lot of parent coach mishaps. It's always a problem with the parents, but say you got to get to know your parents as well, and that will help. If they have a good parent home, they can help out a lot. And the kids, the extra, all the support the kids can get, that's the better. The more support, the better. And that's, it just comes with experience, man. You'll probably interview coaches that have been doing way longer than me, man. But from my standpoint, I think it's experience, and you just try to take it and just learn from it, and just try to give the player the best solutions, the best resources, and try to provide them with the best solutions for their problems.
Well, something that you brought up that I think is really important to consider, to think about for coaches, is that as a coach, you should, whether it's at your school or whether it's at your community, like be in touch or know who those resources are, so that if you don't have that answer, you'd be like, oh, well, I know that you can, call this person or talk to this person. Like, I may not be equipped enough to handle this particular situation, but I know that this person's a great resource, and then you can just connect them with that person. So I think that is really useful, because as coaches, sometimes we hear these things that our players open up to us, and we feel that like, oh, because they told us, like, we got to carry all this with us. But if there's other people who are more equipped and are going to help this kid in a way that maybe you're just not able to, then that's really what's doing the service to the kid, is if you can connect them with that counselor, connect them with, whoever it may be, somebody in the community. I think that that's also part of doing a great job as a coach, is knowing those resources for your players to reach out to. So,
sir, the alumni for that school you at are very key. I'm sorry, but having alumni coming back and just probably giving them some some nuggets and some knowledge about because the alumni would tell them like, hey, I've been through what you've been through. I walked through the same halls. I understand the community, I understand the school, and they can and sometimes you need other people to come talk to the kids. The coach's gonna talk all the time, but I find it very beneficial for having alumni come talk to the kids, or somebody that's kind of been around them in the community, that's a positive role model to come and speak some knowledge to them to help them out also.
And I think that that's something that I know I've had to consider and I've had to keep in mind because I coach
Mhm.
a girls' team in Phoenix and I'm a male who
Yeah,
grew up in Illinois. My experience
yeah,
isn't their experience. You know what? I can tell them what it was like for me in school,
yeah,
but I was
yeah,
2,500 miles away as a male in a school completely different as theirs. You know, if I have
yeah,
players who are from the area who literally walk the same halls like you just mentioned, the things that they say are going to probably connect a lot more than certain things that I say. Like there's certain things that I can say to my players that will connect with, but I know there's certain topics and certain things about upbringing or whatever it is that, you know, there's no way a player should listen to
mhm,
me about that because I didn't go through that. I don't have that
yeah,
experience that they do. And not only that, but kind of like as you said, like it's okay that I don't. Like I don't need to have every experience
yeah,
that my players had. Like, but I it's great
yeah,
to know the ones who did, like you mentioned, and also I think part of that too
yeah,
is, um, you know, as you mentioned, is that um, you like you don't need to necessarily have like all of the answers, but it's always good to keep those connections. And I think the alumni part that you mentioned is really great, and that knowing
yeah,
who's going to work for that, like kind of like how to talk to each player. It's kind of like who does that player like need to hear from, like what
yeah,
type of person would connect with that player. I think that that's also another good idea as well, figuring
yeah.
out who that is. So
Can you say it again? I'm sorry.
oh,
Okay, no,
oh
I got
no,
you. I
no,
heard
you're
you.
good. No, now I want you to kind of put on your advice giving hat now about uh,
Okay.
for a coach who kind of has that disconnect. Maybe it's a coach who's just sort of like in and out, and they coach, and their players only see them as a coach, and that's it. So it's just like a coach-player relationship, and there's nothing more to that. What advice would you give for a coach who maybe is looking to sort of push beyond just that coach player, it's only basketball relationship to sort of to get into something deeper?
Um, a lot of times it may start off like that, but I'm telling you, man, the more, cause you're gonna spend a lot of time around your players. I mean, it probably gonna happen naturally, and that's probably what happened in my case. It just happens
Yeah.
naturally. You spend some time around your players, it becomes a family environment, you know, and before you know it, there's team activities off of campus, like y'all going to lunch, like to dinner together, or the team movie, and then everybody getting to know each other. The players that wouldn't speak to each other at the beginning, they starting to speak to each other now. They know more about each other now. So then now the coach involved, and it's funny how it can happen. You know, I mean, it just can happen naturally. But I mean, I would definitely try to, and like I said, it's chemistry on and off the court. So dealing with high school, I wanted to get to know them off the court as much as possible, because some players are, they are motivated differently.
Hmm.
You understand? So some players can take the hollering, the Bob Knight type of motivation, you know, and some can't.
Hmm.
So you got to find different ways, and that's what I'm talking about, getting to know your players. You got to find different ways to reach that particular player or student.
Mm.
So everybody responds to different things. So player A may respond to a Bob Knight type of rant, and it may do well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But player B may shut down, and that's it. You
Hmm.
have to you have to be you have to be flexible.
Mm.
You know, I ain't saying don't change. So you have to be yourself, but there's different ways to reach different players.
And have you ever had an experience where maybe you had to approach a player in a way that like you had never approached a player before, or you personally as a coach had to like go outside of what you normally do because that's what worked with a particular player?
Yes. Especially when I started coaching girls 4 years ago,
Yep.
I was used to doing the guy, working with the guys. So with the guys, it's, you do whatever, like a Bob Knight type of thing. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to change my approach a little bit. I mean, I'm still going to demand what I want, what I want from them, but I'm gonna do it in a different way. I'm gonna be a little bit more calmer. I'm gonna take the calmer approach, and I'm still demand, but be a little bit more calmer.
Yeah.
And it works. Some can take it, some can't. So that just go back to knowing particular players, man. Everybody ain't gonna respond the same way to a certain thing. But I try to be more. I don't want to sound like I'm a Bob Knight type of guy, but but I just had to learn how to, you have to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to adjust, and especially these times, man, there's so much going on. You can't do like they did back in the day. You can't. There's a lot of things you can't do. That stuff they were doing back in the day, throwing people in lockers and all that kind. You can't do that now, man.
Yeah.
But it's I just try to have fun with it and just I calm down a lot from that aspect and just be more positive, especially with female players, because it's a confidence thing. I want them to have good confidence on and off the court and on and off the field. So I want to build their confidence, let them know like, hey, you can do this. Anybody, you can do anything you want. You put your mind to, you can do it. You got to work hard, and everything will work out. We all go through adversity.
Yeah, and I think like it all just sort of ties back into what you said about kind of like knowing your players, and that if you really want to reach some of your players and you really want to like get the most out of them and make sure that they're having the best experience that they possibly can, you as a coach you may have to go to just a different side of your personality than you might normally show. And it's not that you're necessarily like being fake, because that maybe is still part of your personality. If you're maybe like you're a little bit quieter and you probably still have a bit of a loud side in you. You're just going to have to kind of ratchet that up a little bit more, or vice versa. If you're a Bob Knight coach, as we kind of talk about, like you still have a side of you that's calmer, and you may just have to let that side out a little bit more and sort of figure out what works. But at the same time, I know some coaches worry that like, oh, well, if I do this, then, that's not being true to myself. And, like we kind of talked about, I think what's true to yourself is what's best for the players. And so really that's what's being true to yourself.
Yeah, you just got to be yourself, man. I mean, you got to be yourself, but be willing to kind of be flexible and adjust to certain situations. And that's where I kind of learned, and but still demand the excellence. You want your players on and off the court, and it worked out. I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, and something that I think some coaches I know they're worried about, because I've had these conversations with coaches before, and this really ties in well into our topic about giving players a really good high school experience, is that I know some coaches who are concerned that some of their players might look back on their high school experience, especially playing. They might not have a positive view of it because maybe they lost that crucial game, or everything was dependent on like something, and then they lost, and so it just have like a sour taste in their mouth. And so I'm curious for you, in your experience, how the experience, their high school experience, you help maintain it as a positive one, even if you have those tough losses, or the season really doesn't end the way that you want it to, how things end still on a positive note for you and your team.
Well, you got to celebrate all successes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And when I say that, I mean that's on and off the court. So, and also want to mention you want to support your players and whenever they doing so. If they playing another sport, try to support. Go and support. It makes a difference when you can show up at your players' game. If they playing football, if you're not one of the football coaches, but they playing baseball and you show up to the game, it actually can make a difference. A lot of people don't realize that, but it really does. And but I mean, it's you can't base your high school experience on wins and losses. Now we all do. I mean, we all kind of have a memory of playing like your rival school and like, man, I'm still upset about losing that game to so and so, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to make sure the good outweighs the bad. You know, games gonna be won and lost, and I would tell them now, games gonna be won and lost. I just want them to play at a high level and play hard every play, and that's all you can ask for. That's all you can ask for. Some things gonna be out of your control, but for the most part, if we can outweigh the bad with the good in every situation, like not just sports related, but just the overall high school experience, they may come back some years later like, Coach, man, this ain't got nothing to do with basketball, man, but I sure appreciate you coming to my whatever, you know, whatever they had, you know, it wasn't even basketball related, you know, or we had fun going to this camp during the summer, you know. A lot of players actually, you know, a lot of students remember things like that, especially basketball players. They remember like going to summer camps at certain colleges and or playing in certain tournaments. And it's not even always about the win and losing. They just remember that experience. Like, you know, we had never been out of our town and we never been to a city like that or a nice hotel or, you know, playing against, you know, one of the top schools in the state. So the experience they're going to get, a lot of kids don't have that experience. So
yeah, I can imagine, like, you know, for some coaches, I'm just thinking about like in your area, you know, who have traveled a little bit and have gone, you know, to all these places before, and you know, they're just like, you know, I've been to this city before, I've done this before, like, oh, I've been to Mobile, you know, I went to Birmingham, you know, like they went to these, and it's nothing to them, but to your players, like, we have never been there before.
Yeah.
And it's like, to them, like, just going to that place for the first time might be something they remember. Yeah.
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 Even a coach, you know, if I ain't been to a place in a while, I'm kind of excited. Like, man, I ain't never been here. You know, I mean, it's just an experience, man. I mean, high school is an experience, so you want to try to make it a good one for the kids. You want to try to make it a good one for the kids. I can remember playing. When I was at my alma mater, helping as an assistant with the boys, we were playing a national tournament in Florida. I mean, it was a team from Alaska down here, and you know, I'm like, wow, they came all the way down here for a Christmas tournament. It was in Florida, you know. So think about the experience they had, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and they won't remember, you know, like anything about the game that they played. They'll just remember they went to Florida.
Yeah, they went to Florida, man, and we thought they were crazy because they was outside with their shirts off, man. It was December, you know. You know, we think it's cold, but it was, you know, they from Alaska, man, so it was warm to them.
Oh yeah, no, we had there was a school in our district last year who they had a football game and they were playing a team from Alaska, you know, in Phoenix, and it's just like, wow, like, all right, you know, and it's just like that experience. And even like you said, for us coaches, you know, there's places in Arizona I certainly would never be going to unless I was coaching and had a chance to go to those towns or those communities. And so, you know, those are real team bonding things, and those are the things your players will look back on. And I think as a coach, like, those are the things you sort of reminisce with at the end of the year. You know, those are sort of the things that you sort of like talk about and you know, and talk about how positive of an experience that was. And I think that could do a lot to help the players kind of end on a high note, because at the end of the day, I mean, you and I both know, Coach, there's only, so many state championships or whatever to go around. A lot of teams are ending with a loss at some point. So, what are the things that you're emphasizing at the end of that? And I think that, and I'm sure you could speak to this too. I'm sure you've had experiences with players who, they lose that last game and, it's tough for them. And you have to make sure as a coach that like you make sure that you pump them up a little bit and like you keep them going and make sure that, they can leave with their heads held high. I mean, I'm sure I hope you haven't had too many experiences like that, but I know I've had a few, so I don't know if you've had those as well.
Well, I tell you, man, it's tough to get in the playoffs. It's tough to get in the playoffs, and I always dreaded, having to go in. It's, and see the seniors, and I always dread that, man, because it's like, what do you say, at that point? But, so it's a time where emotions are high. You felt like you failed them. The situation was you feel like you probably, maybe I didn't prepare like I should have prepared. All kind of things going through your mind, and you hate it. You hate it for the seniors, you hate it for the whole team, but them seniors, you wanted them to kind of at least get farther, into the playoffs and play a little bit longer, and so you just thank them for their hard work and appreciate everything they've done for the time that they've been associated with that program. And they laid the foundation for the underclassmen that's behind them, and that I would tell the underclassmen, you got to use this moment as motivation to get past it. And these teams will want you to get past this point. You ever heard that saying, you don't remember that bad taste in your mouth, the taste in your mouth you had after the so-and-so game. So, you definitely want to use it as motivation going into next year. And for the seniors, it's a shame. I noticed a lot of coaches after the seniors are done, they just don't even fool around the seniors no more. Like, it's just like they're not even on campus. I'm still going to help them whichever way I can. Yeah. Whether they trying to play at the next level or trying to get to an institution or higher learning or army, whatever they want to do, I'm going to try to help them.
And I think that, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, I think, man, them players, they done work hard for you. Especially if you play 4 years, man, and you owe it to them, man, to try to help them get to that next level, where they trying to get to. That's our job, to try to help our players be successful after high school.
Well, especially, I think, with basketball, like, when basketball season ends, after basketball season's over for those seniors, that they got, like, a few months, and then they graduate. Like, those are a crucial few months, and as a coach, like, I don't know any, like, good coach who would feel like they're going to, abandon those players now just because their last game is over. Like, if they're, if the season's over and they still don't quite have their plan figured out by, graduation, and you were a coach for them for 4 years, like, I think you owe it to those players, if you care about them as people, to, still stay invested with them and still figure out what they're up to and what they're doing. Because, I think that every coach would want to see, their seniors graduate and know that, so-and-so's graduating and, they have this plan after high school. Like, to me, like, those are the success stories. And I think, like you mentioned, like, it's a real shame for those coaches who are just like, like, you're no longer part of my team, so I never want to, like, associate with you. Like, you're done to me. Like, I think that's a real scary message to send to your whole team, if they feel like, once I'm done playing, like, coach doesn't even care who I am anymore. I think that's a real thing that coaches want to be aware of.
I mean, the players will notice that.
Your juniors will notice that if they know that, like, once I'm done next year, like, that's it for me. Like, coach doesn't care about me. And I think a lot of players will get the feeling like, like, maybe coach never really did care about me, because now that I'm no longer, like, a player to them, like, maybe coach doesn't think I have any use to them anymore. And players will notice that. I think players will really notice the way that, like, those seniors get treated for those couple months after. And I think it seems like to you, it's really important that you keep up with them and still stay invested and make sure they finish strong. I think that's something it seems like you really value.
Yeah, I mean, them kids will work hard for you. I don't care if it's 1 year. You know, them kids work hard. They done everything you asked them to do. You know, and as teachers and coaches, you know, it's our duty to help the kids. You know, achieve success in the way that we can. Um, you know, now if we, you know, now they say you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink it. Now, you know, you have some situations like that. So yeah, I believe it's very important to continue to value those seniors and that has, you know, that's graduating and try to see them on to the next level where they're trying to go. You know, some may not take advantage of it. You know, I have in the past we had some that, you know, could have played at the next level or, you know, that kind of thing, but they chose. And, you know, you can't force them to do anything. I want them to make the decision for themselves. And, you know, and that's, you know, and that's why I tell them, you know, I had one say, well, my mom want me to do this after high school. Well, what do you want to do? It's your future.
Mm-hmm.
It's your future. So you know, whatever you're trying to do, I'm gonna try to point you in the right direction. And I'll be here for you, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And that might be the best role that you have to do. Like, you know, if there's a player who has that decision that they feel like they have to make, well, as a coach, like, you know, you're not, at the end of the day, you're not their parents. So like the best, like you said,
No.
is just be like, okay, well, I'll support you. Like, let me know if you need anything, because that player might, you know, reach out to you a year from now, or, you know, you don't know when that player might need something.
Yeah.
They might think like, you know, like I tried doing this, but, you know, it didn't work out. Like, coach, like, do you have any advice on something? So you just never know. And so I think just being around and just being accessible, and like I said, especially for those seniors or those players who are, you know, who their path might be a little unsure, or you might not be able to, you know, guide them a certain way, but just know that, have them know that you're around. I think that could be really helpful.
Oh yeah.
I think that could mean a lot. And I know that for seniors, you know, it's tough, especially after they've given, you know, a lot to a program. And I try to tell my players, like, hey, like, you know, like, this is it for, you know, maybe you and I, in terms of like you like playing for me, or playing for this school, but like, just come back next year if you can. Like, we'll talk again. Like, it's not like we're completely like done with our relationship. And I think as coaches, I think a lot of coaches kind of think that that's implied, or that their players know that. But I think it's really important to like let your players like know, especially when they're leaving your program, like, come back and visit, like, come back and see, you know, come back and talk to our players. Like, you're always a part of this program. You know, if you played for 20 years ago, like, you're still a part of this team, you know? And so I think that also helps kind of build with culture. And I kind of want to bring that back to culture. And it sounds like to me that your schools that you work at, the programs that you're at, like, it's really important for the players to feel like they're a part of something bigger. Like, this experience of playing basketball isn't just basketball. Like, there's something more that I'm getting out of that. Am I right in that assessment? Do players kind of feel that at those schools?
Yes. And, you know, the last school I was at as an assistant, it probably wasn't like that. The culture, you know, anytime you go somewhere new, and I learned this over the COVID break, man. I was going online coaching clinics.
Yep.
Every clinic talked about culture. So you can't just talk about it, you have to live it, you know, every day. So whatever you want your culture to be, you have to model that every day, and your players have to model it, man. So you have to be a consistent process with that, man. And I'm all about, you know, I always been like a player's coach. So I listen to my players. I really do. I listen to my players. All right. So if I'm calling a offense or a defense not working, hey coach, can we do this? All right, we'll try. We're trying to see if it works, because they want us out there playing, you know. So I want them to give me feedback as well, not just on the court, but also off the court. Like, coach, I asked them, like, how y'all think I'm doing as a coach, and be honest with me. So I ask for your evaluation, and And you know, for thing culture, man, it's so important, man. Like I didn't realize how important culture was. Your culture is pretty much it can have a domino effect into the school. I don't, a lot of people don't understand that, but like you go to the culture like Duke, they got a certain culture. Kansas, everybody got their own different cultures at their programs. But high school level, man, I just noticed now, and I'm still learning that you got to have a culture. You got to have something that you consistently talking about and living every day at your school. Whether it's this accountability, you got to have something that's tied to your program. That's also gonna filter on into the classroom. There's certain things we don't do here. It just we're not going to be lazy. That kind of thing. Like, every coach got non-negotiables. I believe every coach got some non-negotiables, and me learning, I had in the back of my mind, I probably had them, but I never had them visually, and you never reiterated on a consistent basis. So personally, if part of my culture, if I had a program right now, my non-negotiable is we're not going to be lazy. You got to have a work ethic. All right, we're not going to be lazy. And when I say work ethic, I mean in the classroom, on the court, and even at your house. If your parents telling you clean up, you got to clean up. And I just don't. I always had a good work ethic. I'm not the smartest person. I'm not the greatest coach in the world, nothing like that. It just what got me to this point pretty much is my work ethic. I just work hard, and I feel like if I can give my players anything or students anything, it's my work ethic, because that would take them a long way. And that's the kind of coach I would want them to be about is working hard every day and giving 100%.
Well, that ties into like the idea of the best possible experience that you're going to give players is like, what else are they getting from basketball that isn't just basketball? Like what else does this program represent, or what else, like what other like skills or what other things am I going to like get out of just being a part of this, elite group of however many players that play this sport? And so like at your school, like you mentioned, like, you're gonna work hard. Like there's gonna be a certain standard of work that, like you said, is gonna probably carry over into the classroom, is gonna carry over at home, because if that's something that's really important to emphasize, and they're like, man, like I have to work really hard in basketball. Like I know coach wants me to be doing this in school. Like I know coach wants me to be doing this at home, and there's gonna be that effect that's there. And again, it creates an experience that they're gonna get from being in basketball that's going to carry with them probably all through high school, like you said. And I think what you mentioned too about, just having something that is part of your like culture or part of your identity, or something that's really, really important. Like I don't talk a lot about the school I work at, but I know at our school, of our program, like academics, it's a huge thing for us. Like if you're going to be playing at the school, like your grades are going to be up to, they're going to be up to a certain level. And it's, something that not only do we talk about it, but we do our grade checks, and we do our, give our girls time to do study halls and everything. But it's not just, it's not just like, you're not failing. It's like, no, like, why do you have a D? So I think that at our school, since I promote grades and our staff promotes grades so much, and it's not just like, you don't have D's, like you're good. Like it's like, why do you not have C's or higher? Why do you not have B's or higher? And I think that our players know that that's something they're going to get out of it. And I'm really proud of at least our particular school. We had 8 girls who were either all academic or all academic honors for the state for girls basketball. And I think if you have those things like that, man, like players are going to know that, like incoming players are like, oh man, like this is what I'm going to get out of this experience. Like, look at how successful, these players are. Look at how hard these players are. Man, I want to be a part of that. And I think like you kind of mentioned, like it's something cool for them to be a part of. And they know like, man, like this coach might work me really hard, but look at all these other things I'm going to get out of this. And I'm sure you can probably talk about that too. Like you probably have players who thank you too for the way that like you worked them hard or how hard you pushed them. I'm sure you have players who are grateful for that.
Yeah. And even like when I first started, man, a lot of like some of the guys I coached, they grown now, man. They, not too long ago, man, someone sent a message on Facebook like, man, I sure appreciate what you did, and that kind of thing, man. It make you feel good, and my thing is we're going to work hard, but we're going to have fun doing it. I like to have fun. I like to have fun doing it, man. If I got to be out here at practice 3 hours, I'm going to have fun doing it. We're going to play music most of the time at the beginning and, and just try to, start our practice on the right foot, man, have fun and compete with one another.
Yeah.
And I, and going back to your culture thing, man, it's like every culture you got to have good communication. You got to have accountability. Top and bottom, you got to have, there's going to be consequences, and practices got to be hard and intense, but, I try to keep it fun at the same time, so they won't dread it, so, and then learning about basketball and life and consistency. You got to be consistent in what you're doing.
Well, something that you brought up that kind of registered with me is that you talk about, making sure that it's a fun and enjoyable experience as well. And I think that that's really important for what you're like emphasizing is that there's an association now where like, yeah, like, wow, I'm going to work hard and I might have to work a lot harder than I ever had to before, but there's like some enjoyment there's fun that I have doing it. And I think for like young players and teenagers to kind of see like the reward or see the benefit or just the enjoyment of working hard, I think that that's invaluable. I think that that's something that players can take with them for the rest of their lives. If they're like, man, I've never had to work this hard before, but I see how coach was able to kind of make this like a fun experience. So like, hey, maybe if I can work really hard, but also enjoy it at the same time, that could be something that could be really invaluable for players to have.
Yeah, man. I mean, you'd be surprised, man. If the players out there having fun, man, they don't even realize what they're doing or how much they're doing. They doing so much, but we trying to make it fun for them, man. Every night I may be at practice cracking a joke while they doing a drill. I'm like, but we having fun doing it, man. It's a time to get serious. It's a time to run them from this and that, be disciplined, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I want them to enjoy coming to practice and working hard and getting better. And, and know that our expectations are going to be high. We're going to shoot for the top of the mountain. Whatever we're trying to get to, we're trying to get to the top of the mountain. Everybody have to get their comfort zone, and you have to get out your comfort zone. And that's a lot of sacrifices as well. Involved with this as well.
And as you mentioned, like you'll be doing a lot of this hard work and you're gonna push yourself and maybe be pushed more than you wanted to, but like we're gonna enjoy doing it. We're gonna have some fun with it as well. And at the end, you should hopefully be able to look back on this and be like, wow, like, I took a lot out of this that, I might not play basketball anymore for the rest of my life, but I sure learned something about working hard. And if you as a coach can give a player that and give them like the work ethic and the understanding of work ethic, like, man, that goes so far beyond basketball. You're like, wow, like, okay, you can take this for the rest of your life. And I know as a coach that I made this experience worthwhile for you because now you understand the value of hard work and you can apply that to whatever it is you want to apply it to. And I think that goes with them having a great experience as well, is what can you use from basketball that's going to apply to whatever it is you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you just got to enjoy the process. And enjoy the process, man. Enjoy the ride. Them high school years go by fast, man. I was just telling somebody the other day, they about to graduate. I'm like, it went by fast, didn't it? It goes by fast, so you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy it, man.
And I think that's also something as a coach that you just have to always keep in mind is, especially coaches who've coached a while, they know how quick freshman to senior year goes. And, to make sure that those players are, getting the most in their freshman year, they're acclimated and they're ready to go, because the next thing you know, they're seniors. That's like, oh man, like, did I make the most use of this time that I had with this player for 4 years? Do I feel like they're ready to do whatever they want to do in the world? Because like those freshmen grow up quick, and like I said, they're going to be walking down the graduation aisle before you know it. So you want to make sure that you maximize the time that you had with them. No, absolutely. No, that's great. That's great.
Prepare them, man. As soon as they get on campus, you got to prepare those freshmen, man, like they seniors. Like, the ACT, getting, registered with the clearinghouse. You got to kind of start that as early as you can. You don't want that to come back later on and prevent a kid from getting an opportunity. And I've been seeing that, a lot. A lot of kids wait till their junior year. Really, you can take the ACT in middle school. From what my understanding is.
Yeah, you can take it earlier.
That's a key thing too, about, next level, higher level learning.
Right. And I know for some like varsity head coaches who I've talked to before, who talk about, I want to make sure my players are, they're going to college if they want to, and university and things like that. Well, some of those varsity coaches, they're going to be on those freshmen about their GPA right away and be like, you better be making sure you have A's and B's, because, you want to apply to college senior year, but if you were doing nothing your freshman year and your GPA is barely like a 2 because of what you were doing freshman year, then, that's going to, take away some opportunities for you. And I think as coaches, kind of to wrap that thought up, like we have to understand that our seniors, the way that they think and the way they think about their future is not the way that they thought their freshman year. So we as coaches kind of have to know, like, okay, this freshman is coming in. They were just in 8th grade. They might have all these ideas about where they're going for the future, but 90% of that is going to change by the time they get senior year. So I got to make sure we set them up for, just make sure they're on a track for success, so that by the time they're like, okay, coach, this is really what I want to do my senior year. It's like, okay, well, we took care of a lot of this other stuff earlier, so now you can go whichever direction you want to. So I think as coaches, we have to make sure that we're kind of using our wisdom and kind of knowing that, these kids are going to grow and there's going to be a lot of changes in terms of what they want to do or whatever the case may be. Just being aware of that. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Coach, this has been great, and I know that we could probably go on for hours and hours about this, but this was great so far. So, Coach, to wrap up, there's a couple questions that I always ask every guest. So we're going to go ahead and start with our first one here, which is, what is a moment from your coaching career that you think others listening would be able to learn from?
A moment from my coaching career others can learn from. Don't take nothing for granted. So one day you probably coaching, one day you're not. Just in my situation, but don't take nothing for granted, man, and just enjoy it. I know it's rough, man. Coaching is a hard job, especially on a high school level. You're in the higher classifications. It's a hard job, but man, enjoy every day, and and enjoy helping these kids be successful in whatever they want to be successful in. That's why I say just don't take nothing for granted.
Great. No, I 100% agree. Like the seasons go by quick. Like we just talked about, freshmen become seniors really quick. Next thing you know, like, man, I wish I got to spend more time with that player. I thought I had all this world, and then, well, now they just graduated. And so, you never want to have that moment where like, man, this player went by really quick through my program, and maybe I didn't get to know him as much as I wanted to, or, maybe I should have enjoyed that moment with them a little bit more. So I know that's something for me right now that I'm going to be keeping in mind, because, I have some girls in my program, and I had them as freshmen. I feel like they were just freshmen yesterday, and now they're halfway through their junior year, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, let's slow down time a second. So, like I said, just appreciate those moments, appreciate those years, because it goes by quick. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then finally, Coach, what I give every guest, you actually did a good job with just answering this question just now, but I guess I'll give you another opportunity to really crack at it. So I give every guest what I call like a 60-second soapbox, where basically they get to get out their final thought, their final idea, kind of their closing message to those listening. So, Coach, I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor to kind of give that final thought or closing message. The floor is yours, Coach. Go ahead.
All right. So, I'm thinking I pretty much hit everything on the head, but just make sure you prepare your players for life after high school. Get them registered with ACT before their junior year, before they are scheduled to take it their junior year. Try to get them in the clearinghouse, eligible for the clearinghouse. Harp on those freshmen about their GPAs early on, and I would have mandatory study halls every week, at least once a week. I don't care if everybody got straight A's. I would have mandatory study halls. If everybody just good at doing their work, they can practice the ACT. And bond. Have bonding events with your team. Bond with your players and the parents, and get to know them, and they'll appreciate it later on down the road.
Mm-hmm. No, I really like that a lot. I think there's so many like opportunities that we have as coaches to really make an impact on players' lives through those simple conversations during like a study hall, or during in passing, and that those moments that you have to really like get to know your players when basketball isn't the focus of what you're doing, when you're away from a basketball court and you're just talking to them. I think that's such a good message to kind of leave off of. And again, like you mentioned, as coaches, we understand a lot of the things that are necessary to be successful after high school, like you just talked about, like ACT and some of these other things, but like our players might not. And so we have to make sure that we're doing what we can to give our players the resources to be successful, and make sure that they have all their T's crossed and I's dotted, so they're ready to go with whatever they want to do. So I like that a lot.
Yes, sir.
Coach Jerkins, I want to thank you again for spending some time talking about players and giving them the best experience possible, and just really just growing the player and making sure the player is successful and set up to have a great life after high school. So this is a great conversation. Really appreciate you spending some time. So good luck going forward with whatever your personal coaching path takes you to. Good luck, and thank you so much for spending some time.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Thank you, Coach, and all of you listening. Thank you guys so much for listening. So it was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. We will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.